President Bush 41 believed that Cheney embodied an image of the 43 administration that was in some ways counterproductive around the world.
The elder Bush reserves his harshest criticism for Donald Rumsfeld, of whom he's quoted as saying, "I don't like what he did, and I think it hurt the president, George W. Bush. Having his iron-ass view of everything, there's a lack of humility, a lack of seeing what the other guy thinks. He's more kick-ass and take names."
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that, of course, all referring to the new book by John Meacham on President Bush 41, and talking about Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld, who, of course, served President Bush 43, and he's saying very unflattering things. Bill Kristol, editor of the Weekly Standard, ABC News contributor, joins us. Hello, Bill. Are you surprised by this?
I'm not that surprised that President Bush, first President Bush, thought that. I'm a little surprised he said it. Probably doesn't really help his son's presidential campaign here to have like another reminder of why we do not want dynasties and why we just like to move on and not get tangled up in fights about Cheney, Rumsfeld, and W.
Yeah, no, that's a good point about Jeb, because Jeb, first of all, has gone on out of his way to say, my brother kept us safe. Well, if your brother kept you safe, the people around him contributed to that, right?
Cheney in particular, that was his obsession. I mean, I myself am very pro-Cheney. Was not pro-Rumsfeld. I thought he mishandled Iraq and was difficult to, didn't listen to criticism, didn't take criticism well. Didn't take it well from me, I know. But look, I mean, they served the country and they worked for George W. And if George W. hadn't liked what they were doing, he could have relieved either one. I mean, obviously, you can't fire a vice president. He could have failed to renominate him, or certainly he did curb some of Cheney's powers in the second term. I think, actually, unfortunately, he let Rumsfeld go in 06. But, yeah, I mean, it's just awkward, I think. Is that one's general sense of it is it's just, if I were running or part of the Jeb campaign, which I'm not, obviously, and not that sympathetic in a way to Jeb as a candidate, but I almost feel sorry for him. I mean, here they are floundering at 4% in the polls, trying to launch a comeback for the debate on Tuesday night, and we're going to have a weekend of stories about what his father thinks about his brother's administration.
All right, so let's talk about Rubio versus Jeb. I mean, this is obviously going to hurt Jeb more. I agree with you on that. But up to this point, the battle between them, you got a couple of billionaires now backing Jeb, backing Rubio. I'm sorry.
Look, it's a pretty. The truth is, it's just looking at there are two polls that came out. There are two post-debate national polls, Quinnipiac and Fox. Very good polls, very similar results. It does look like finally the polls are going to maybe not bouncing around quite as much, and there's a certain kind of settling in or consistency. And basically, in both, if I'm not, I believe Rubio's in the 13-12 range, and Jeb is at 4. So is it really even that close anymore between Rubio and Jeb? It looks very much like there's Sanders and Trump are getting a slightly less, Carson and Trump are getting slightly less than a quarter of the vote. Rubio and Cruz are getting, 12, 13, 14, and no one else seems to be above 4 or 5%. Well, I really wonder if Jeb can last much longer.
Well, let's talk about Rubio, and it seems like Trump. A lot of people say that Rubio's the biggest fear of Hillary, and maybe that he's the biggest fear of Trump. And Trump has gone out at him over the credit card issue, that he mishandled his credit cards, and now Rubio says he'll release the records. And then Rubio fired back at Trump. There's a great piece on Newsmax.com right now. Fired back at Trump about his filing for bankruptcy.
It's interesting. I mean, Rubio helped himself a lot, I think, in the exchange with Bush, both because people thought the Bush criticism was unwarranted and just piling on, following the lead of the mainstream media. But also Rubio had a certain steely toughness in responding to Bush effectively that I think reassured people who like Rubio and wish him well, but aren't sure is he quite strong enough, tough enough for the job. I think if Rubio and Trump have an exchange on Tuesday night, that will be interesting, because that will be, if Rubio can stand up to Trump, best him, or even just hold his own, because Trump's awfully good at this kind of thing, but not get bullied by Trump, do better against Trump than Kasich has, than Rand Paul has, than Bush has. Remember that exchange in the first debate, I think it was, about his Governor Bush's wife. If Rubio could do that, I think it will help Rubio a lot.
Yeah, so he's one good debate away from really surging, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think the other person that has been neglected here is Ben Carson.
Well, I was going to ask you. You predicted the rise of Ben Carson on this show, and here he has. He's overtaken Trump in a poll or two nationally, and certainly in various states. How long do you think this is going to last?
I think Carson has been, this is one of the things I was right about this year. It's always nice to write one or two things, wrong about others, obviously. But no, I think he has a real strong support. And if you just look at his numbers, they're very impressive. Everyone likes him. Almost no one dislikes him. It's not like Trump, where there's, he has a real limit, I think, on his support. He's got 800,000 donors, almost all of them small donors. He raised $10 million last month. He's communicating with people directly on social media. He had this fantastic Facebook post last night. I don't know if I'm sure you read it. It was really moving, I'd say. It looks like it's written by him. Maybe he's got an aide helping him or something, but very much in his voice. Not elegantly written, I wouldn't say, but movingly written about he doesn't have the kind of experience that people want politicians to have sometimes, but he thinks he has more important experience, a life experience, and obviously as a surgeon. So I just think Carson could really stay strong for a long time. I would not be at all. So I think I've never thought Trump would ultimately really be a finalist, but if you told me it was going to be Carson, Rubio, and Cruz in the finals, I would not be at all surprised. I think that would be very reasonable.
Interesting. And Christie and Kasich, what's your take on them?
I think they are the two who have an outside chance to come up on the rail, and one of them could sort of replace Jeb as the kind of, moderately conservative governor who is probably more aggressive than Jeb and more in the fray. And I don't rule out Carly Fiorina, who's always done well in debates and who's impressive. But I had breakfast this morning with someone who, involved in one of these campaigns and off the record, so he's trying to be candid. It's a little hard to write the scenario when at this point. Of course, there have been so many surprises, who knows? But at this point, it does look like the two senators, Cruz and Rubio, are sitting there ahead of the other elected officials, and Carson and Trump aren't going anywhere at the head of the whole pack.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It would be very hard for Christie and Kasich at this point, I think. Hey, great to talk to you, Bill, as always. Thank you.
Be well, Steve. Thanks.
You too. The Malzberg panel is next, folks. We'll talk about all of this and more. Don't go away.